Good morning. This is Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You get more information and listen to previous shows at our website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Andy Scarpati, aka the Happy Hypnotherapist. Is that it? Do I have that
Happy
right?
Hypnotist.
Well, but I see on the Zoom thing it says the
Yeah, it
Happy.
says happy hypnotherapist. I guess I got to change that.
Well, yeah, because it threw me the happy, and I like, by the way, I love the Happy Hypnotist. Is that new?
It's a couple years.
Okay, but Dr. And you'll see why Dr. Andy Scarpati, the Happy Hypnotist, who's also a stand-up comedian, actor, producer, life coach, an author, among other things, and also bon vivant. You know, you're a bon vivant. And
You know about that.
exactly. Andy, thanks for being my guest today.
Blaine, thanks for having me on as a guest, and thanks for being such a great guy who I've known for many, many years. We go way back. I don't know if you remember, like back in the 1990s when you were the marketing teacher at Bucks County Community College. You brought me into your class a couple
I
times,
I do.
and I explained my first business, my comedy cabaret business, and your students came out with a marketing plan for me. So I really did appreciate that back in those days. So we go back a long way. I've been to your birthday parties, and I know some of your friends, and so it's just great to connect with you again, right here live on
Almost
your
live.
podcast.
And by the way, yeah, one of my thrills is whenever I come into Bucks County, I always try to go to Comedy
Comedy
Cabaret.
cabaret, yes, it'd be
And
great. Next
we
time you
should
come
mention
back.
that Andy, the Happy Hypnotist, began performing as a stand-up comedian and actor in 1978, and by 1980, he left the teaching profession for a career as a comedy producer and performer. He created Comedy Cabaret, a company that specialized in setting up comedy clubs. And early in his career, he worked with some of the biggest names in comedy: Jay Leno, Kevin James, Ray Romano. I don't see my name there. I don't work with.
I'll
He's
include
also
that next time.
Okay, he's also acted over a dozen commercials. In 1994, landed a part in the TV show America's Most Wanted, playing a police officer. I could see that. He's also a hypnotist, teaching, leading to his hypnosis. It took him to the Hypnosis Institute in Manhattan, where he earned his basic and advanced degree. According to his resume, he's now also an author, and his latest book we'll be talking about in just a little bit, but it's a really cool book, Hypnotize Yourself. And so, Andy, the question I have to ask you is, as kid, you grew up where?
I grew up in suburban Langhorne and Levittown, Pennsylvania.
And when you were a kid growing up, like, were you always a funny guy?
Yeah, I enjoyed laughing at a very early age. My sister and I used to play this game. I'm serious. I was like, I don't know, third grade or something. We used to play a game called Laughs, and it was a real simple game where we take turns making each other laugh. And my family laughed. I just loved to laugh, and I got involved in the comedy business, and I was a teacher. First I was an actual teacher, Pennsbury School District. I taught sixth grade for a few years. And while I was doing that, I got involved in stand-up comedy. And I decided after a few years of teaching, let me just give this stand-up comedy thing a little try. I guess I could always go back and teach if it doesn't work out. And I started doing stand-up and setting up shows. And I started a company called Comedy Cabaret, which is a production company that goes into existing hotels, restaurants, nightclubs, and sets up comedy shows. So it's been pretty successful over the years. I started it full time in 1980, and it's still running. And the place we have in Doylestown has been there 37 years. Will be 38 years here in April, at Poco's Restaurant in Doylestown. So that's pretty good. And then I got involved in a hypnosis, which I never expected in my entire life. I got to tell you how I got involved in this point
Well, Andy,
because
hold on a second, because I think
okay,
we're going to ask you to hypnotize my cat in a second. Let me just take a brief pause, and I'll be right back because um, he's so excited to be listening to you and hearing you. I'm going to have to ask him
can
to
you put the
excuse.
cat on your lap?
What? No, it's bopping around. But
Oh,
let me just take care of him. I'll be right back. Stay here.
okay.
Hello there again. We're back with Dr. Andy Scarpati, the happy hypnotist. Andy, I was asking you about how you got into doing what you're doing. You were talking about the comedy background, and that's where I knew you. I think I first met you at the Trenton when you opened a comedy cabaret in Trenton for a while,
Yes. That
and I
goes
would
way
go
back.
there, and we got friendly. I followed you all around, but all of a sudden, then I was reading and finding out about that you became a hypnotist as well. What got you into hypnotism?
Blaine, this is a great story. And for everyone listening, it's going to be like a life lesson as well. Because in 1995, I wouldn't even go to a hypnotist. Okay. Because I saw the movies, I saw stage shows. I go, no way, man. I'm not letting them control my mind because I was ignorant of how hypnosis really worked. I didn't know. But I saw a sign. I was curious about it. And I saw a little sign, success with self hypnosis class. And like, you know what? I'm going to take this course only because it said self. I go, okay, self, it's about me. So I felt safer that way. And then the first thing I learned, and everyone needs to hear this, the first thing I learned is all hypnosis is self hypnosis, which means it's up to us to whether accept what's being said or not. And I went, oh, really? Okay, it's that simple. So I took this class, and the guy teaching the class, Dr. Barry Sieben, this was in New York City, by the way. The guy teaching the class said, hey, you know what? Next weekend, I'm doing a basic certification course. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday class. And if anyone's interested in learning more or becoming a basic hypnotist, I just wanted to learn more. I had no inclination, desire. The thought was never even in my mind to do one-on-one work. So I take the class. It was incredible. I loved it. I learned so much about it, and it was just fascinating. And at the end of the 3 days, they hand you this little certificate, you're a basic hypnotist. I started laughing. I'm not going to use that. But, people in my comedy production office knew I took the class, and this is 1995. They told someone who was a comedian and did a stage hypnosis show, had done for us a couple times, and was also a clinical therapist. I never even gave it a second thought. Well, he called me on the phone. He goes, hey, Andy, I understand you got your basic certification. How would you like to come down to my office, sit in while I see clients? And I said, why would I want to do that? Because it's really interesting what happens when you work one-on-one with somebody. It's really interesting. I think you'd like it. I'm just curious. I go, okay, curious, sure. So I went down to his office. He had an office in Wilmington, Delaware, small little office, Blaine. It's like a little office, had a little recliner, a little chair next to it, like my office was. You remember you were there. So anyway, so I'm sitting there watching him as he's seeing these clients. I go down, and after the third client, I didn't expect this. He leans over, he goes, you want to take the next one? And I'm like, okay, I guess. I didn't ever even thought of it. It was a middle-aged guy, self-esteem issue. So I said, okay. So I start working with this guy. And within seconds, it seemed like I was so focused on helping him, I wasn't thinking about me. I just kept focusing on him. Next thing I know, like an hour's up, session's over, the guy leaves, he's happy. And just Dr. Bowling guy goes, Andy, it was incredible. You're a natural. Then he said this, how would you like to fill in for me one day a week? That was why he really wanted me to come down. He didn't tell me that. And then I said, yeah, I'm just curious, sure. So I show up at his office and I'm filling in. In those days, it was just a list of names. I had no idea why they were coming in. So I get through the first day. It was really interesting. Then I go back the second day, list of names. There's 4 names on this list. The last person on the list, a woman named Shirley, she comes in. She says, oh, I have really bad back pain. I went to my orthopedic doctor. He x-rayed and goes, I can't find anything. Go to a hypnotist. I didn't even know what to do. I go, I had a weekend course. There was nothing about pain. I had to excuse myself, call him on the phone. Thank God he answered. I went back. He gave me some ideas. I did a session with her. I swear to God, this is what happened. Changed my life. Session's over. Woman stands up, grabs her lower back and goes, oh my gosh, the pain's gone. And I'm thinking, oh my God, the pain's gone. But on the outside, I'm like, yeah, the pain's gone. And I'm going, the pain's gone. Blaine, I'm like, this is unbelievable. I'm walking to my car that day. You know what? I'm going to do this. Now, wait till you hear this. I'm telling you, prior to that, I didn't want to do it. The universe said, you're going to do this. This is what happens. Literally a week before, the landlord, where my comedy production office was in Richboro, PA, the landlord had given me the adjacent room right next door. And he said, I can't really find anybody for this room, Andy. He goes, I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you for $100 a month. And I had a conversation with somebody a few days before that wanted office space. I go, okay, I'll take it. So I call the guy up. He goes, no, I don't want it. I put an ad in the local newspaper. I get back from seeing Shirley that day. There's a voicemail on my answering machine. This is 1995. Yeah, I'll take the space. I know exactly where it is. I called the guy up. I'm sorry, somebody else got it. I turned it into Hypnosis office. Wait till you hear this. I start seeing family and friends. I put an ad in the local newspaper. Well, a few months later, a guy comes in, 27-year-old real estate agent. I help him stop smoking in one session. A few months later, I get a phone call from his dad. I didn't know his dad was Dr. Lawrence Schmitzer from Richboro. I didn't know that. He goes, you helped my son stop smoking. Can I meet you? Yeah. So he comes over, we meet, we talk, we chat. He starts sending me all his patients. It was like a parade. It was like stop smoking, weight control, anxiety. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 I'm getting really busy. And then there's more to it. And then because I'm in the comedy business, a while later, there's a guy that did this funny thing with his hand, and he was on Don Pollock on Action News. So I happened to get Don Pollock's email by chance because I was connected to the comedy business. At that time, I started doing a stage hypnosis show. Somebody asked if I could do one, and I put one together because I did stand-up comedy prior. So I contact Don Pollock on Action News. I go, I have an idea for you. How about a story of a guy who by day helps people overcome fears and phobias, helps them stop smoking, and by night uses that same power and focus to make people laugh and entertain. All of a sudden, he shows up at my club one night when I'm doing a show that I do a session with him on TV. I'm on the local evening news. I hypnotize him on local evening news. The phone rings off the hook. So I have a whole new career. Now, the message here is people, keep yourself open to opportunities. Don't be locked in. You never know. Learn new things. Venture out. You never know what can possibly happen to you. I have a whole new career. Then I write a book. I never thought I'd write a book in the world. I had a hard time reading books when I was younger. And now I wrote a book. It's just incredible. It really is. And it's I love the work. I love help because I know what it's like. Like when I first took that first class, that weekend seminar, I went to see the doctor, the hypnosis doctor, because I want to see what it was like one-on-one session. And I had something I wanted to work on. It was great. I wanted to feel a little more confident. And he helped me with a little issue that I had. It was perfect. I go, you know what? This stuff is really, really good.
Well,
so
let me just back up a little bit in terms of sharing two stories involving me working with you. The one having to do with the fact that I want to thank you that I think I've thanked you before, but because of you, I got into hypnotism for a while and I studied it. Same kind of thing. I just thought it'd be kind of a neat thing to study. And I studied. I didn't go quite where you went with the career, but I want to thank you at the time. You were very helpful. I met you in your office, gave me a whole bunch of books, if you remember, gave me advice. You're very open to it. But also, perhaps more importantly, I have to tell folks that I was also a client of yours, and probably one of the early ones, because I remember that office. I remember, I can see it in front of me. And I remember I had a problem, and if I can share it, Andy, with folks, but I was having terrible anxiety. I was getting a lot of blood work and needles and stuff like that, and it really bothered me. And so I remember I called you up, Andy, do you think you could help? And said, sure, come on down. And sure enough, I forgot we had which was cool because I didn't want to get into a long-term relationship on this, but you told me we'll do 1 or 2 sessions. You were also very nice. You gave me a self-hypnosis, gave me a tape, right,
Yeah,
And do you
back in
still
those
do?
days, I made cassette tapes of the
Right. So
session
after
for
the session,
people.
I had a cassette
Yeah, so they
tape,
could use it for reinforcement if they needed it.
and it was, and I have to give you the compliment, Andy. You've heard me say it, but others haven't. That it was really a good use of my time and worth every cent I paid you. I don't pay you big bucks, but worth every cent. And it worked, Andy. I don't know if I've told
Thank
you
you.
this, but for 25 years or even longer, I don't have that anxiety, needles and blood work, whatnot.
That's
But
awesome. That's
thank you.
awesome.
I should
Yeah,
add
but
that I
listen,
haven't
here's the
had blood
thing.
work I
I
haven't
gotta
had
say
blood
this.
I haven't had blood work for 25 years, and and you hypnotize, you said stay away from these guys and don't go in. But no, it was just, but it was very helpful. It worked. And let's talk about
Yeah,
the, yeah,
and you did it, Blaine. All I did was
right,
talk. You're the one that made it happen. That's the thing I love about it. And that's the thing I always teach my clients. I'm just talking, okay? Your brain did it. You have the power to do this. And that's the thing I love about hypnosis. I mean, hypnosis, it was actually approved in 1959 by the American Medical Association and American Psychological Association, approved it as a therapeutic tool, even though it had been around for a long
right,
time. It was actually approved as a therapeutic tool. Let me just share with you the Mayo Clinic definition, okay? The Mayo Clinic definition of hypnosis. Hypnosis, referred to as hypnotherapy or hypnotic suggestion, is a trance-like state of heightened focus and awareness. Hypnosis is usually done with a therapist using visual images or word suggestions. In hypnosis, you're relaxed and you're open to suggestion. So, what I like to add to that definition is that it's going inward and it's easy to do, and you can literally change any thought you have. You can create any new habit. You can enhance a skill. If you're a pickleball player and you want to play better, you could use hypnosis. Sports teams all have either hypnotherapists or mental coaches to help them enhance their skills. Hypnosis is such a great skill. I wish if I was in charge of the school systems, I would teach everyone self hypnosis. They could use it to enhance, improve, and best of all, it's easy to do. And once you learn how to do it, you have the skill for life. And okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to plug my book, but if you read my book, Hypnotize Yourself, you'll learn how to do hypnosis. I teach you 2 types of self-hypnosis in the book. And there's scripts in the book. I teach you how to make your own self-hypnosis audios in the book. And I give a bunch of other great examples of success habits, cognitive functions, ways to look at yourself. And it's a great book.
well,
People that have read it have loved it. So
well,
far. And on my website, I got one more thing. On my website, if you buy the audio version on my website, it's unconditionally guaranteed for 30 days. I'll give you your money back. It's only $9, but I will
okay.
give you your money back. So far, I haven't to give anybody their money back yet.
Okay. But one thing also I loved about the book also is toward the end, you gave some really good examples. And I wanted to ask you about some of those examples,
Okay.
pointing out that what you can use hypnosis for. So I told you,
Yes.
I used it with you for anxiety and
Right.
needles and whatnot. And then you told me off the air that ironically somebody's coming in next week for the same kind of thing.
Yep.
But then you also mentioned smoking. But talk about some of the other clients you've had that work with you in different kinds of
You know
contexts.
what? I'm glad you asked the question. Thanks. Because, when people hear a conversation like this or watching, they're not necessarily 100% sure, but let me explain typically what happens. Okay. And this is in the use of it. A lot of people come in for fears of certain kind, phobias, fears of speaking in public, all kinds of fears, but they all have the same root. Once you figure out what the root is, wait till you see how beautiful and easy it is to solve these issues. Okay. When I first started, and I love explaining this to everybody because it lays out the whole scenario to everyone. A woman called me on the phone and she goes, "Look, I'm really having a hard time driving my car." This is 1995. Here, I go, "What's the matter?" She goes, "Well, if I know where I'm going, I'm fine. But if I don't know where I'm going, I become very anxious, very upset. Now, next week, I have to take my daughter to a cheerleading competition, and I know I got to get someone else to drive. Can you help me?" "Yes, come on in." So I asked her, has she always felt anxious driving? She goes, "I've been a little uncomfortable driving, but if I know where I'm going, I'm okay." "All right." So I go, do you know why? She says, no, I don't know why. In the session, we do something called a regression, which is just going back into your memory bank. There's a technique to doing it. I'm not going to get involved in that now, but I want to explain to you how the root of whatever these situations are, once they're rectified, everything changes and you feel differently. Here you go. We go back. Here's what happens. She's 10 years old. She's sitting in the back of her parents' car. Dad driving, mom here, little 10-year-old girl sitting in the back next to her 10-year-old girlfriend. They're going on vacation to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina from, the Richboro area. They get down into the vicinity. It's nighttime. The parents got lost. Now listen to this. When the parents got lost, they got into a fight. But one of these fights blown out of proportion, screaming, yelling, cursing. The little 10-year-old girl is in a car now that doesn't know where it's going. She's humiliated how the parents are acting. The most powerful people she knows are out of control. That's called the initializing event, okay? So that's what's locked in the little girl's mind, the little 10-year-old mind. She wasn't consciously aware of it. Now, as a hypnotherapist that knows what they're doing, it's easy to change. All we have to do is we do inner child work on it, because it's the 10-year-old that's afraid. And how do I help the 10-year-old? I help the 10-year-old by doing a bunch of different techniques. First, grabbing the adult to come in to talk to the 10-year-old. I have them have a conversation, and I have them, the 10-year-old, realize she's okay now. Once the 10-year-old mind feels like it's okay, they don't feel anxious anymore. That's how easy it is. Now, there's more to it. There's a lot more to it, but in a nutshell, now this is what I was taught, and this is what I have proven in my hypnosis office for the last 29 years. A thought is like a hologram. This is what I was taught. So picture a dollar bill as a hologram. If you tore off a little edge of that dollar bill, a hologram contains all the same information. So if you had a little tear of that hologram, all the same information is in that hologram, is in the whole dollar bill. It's like the DNA code is the same. If you change a thought, if a thought's a hologram, this is what I was taught. If I introduce new information to a thought where you were fearful about something, that thought is permanently changed. You cannot, it is impossible for you to feel as fearful about it again. And I have proven this time after time after time in my hypnosis sessions. And not just me, I mean, everybody that does hypnosis can prove this. And that's why it's so healing. One session, I mean, I've had people come to my office that have been in therapy 25, 30 years on something. One or two hypnosis sessions, gone. They're out of therapy. Now, I'm not saying cognitive therapy is not good. I'm saying some people need cognitive therapy, but there are certain people that after a while don't want to do it anymore. Come see a hypnotherapist and you won't have to see them anymore.
Well,
that's how easy it is. That's how beautiful. This is why I love it, because you can get to the root of something, you can change it, and the person is different. They feel different about it. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love this work.
Well, let me jump in on that, because I recall when we first spoke, that was one of the things I was concerned about, Andy. I didn't want to go seeing you every week for years, And you said, no, come, and I seem to recall it was 2 sessions, doesn't matter, but it can be, the change can be that quick. And also, now it can be that quick, but it's also can be permanent. It's also not with drugs, It's just
I love
incredible how effective it can be if people get beyond what you alluded to earlier, the initial, I guess, misapprehension of what it's all about. Where I should ask you too, and I remember this when I studied hypnotism, if I see you, you're not going to make me cluck like a chicken? Unless
Only
I want
if you
to.
want to.
Yeah, that's the key. We'll talk a little bit about that. So you're talking this one woman, I talked about my experience, one or two others, and I want to spin off into the book in a second. But what are some other things you've helped people with? Smoking you've helped them with? Needle
Yes.
apprehension,
And smoking. I'm
driving?
glad you said smoking, because I want to also equate smoking to the same reference I made before, going back into the memory bank. One of the reasons people sometimes have such a tough time smoking, and they're not consciously aware of this, okay? Wait to hear this. When do most people start smoking? They're younger,
Right.
they're with their friends, they're hiding someplace where there's a connection there when they're with their friends doing something like that. Okay. And part of stopping smoking, they're not aware of this. Part of stopping smoking is sometimes is breaking that bond. And that's sometimes one of the reasons why they don't. So when I help somebody stop smoking, I always go back to when they first started. Okay. What their memories are. And I talk to the inner child or the 14-year-old, whatever it is that's smoking, and with the adult, and we make them realize it's okay that they did it then, but it's okay for them to stop now. And having a conversation like that, and then I have them imagine that that day they didn't smoke. Okay. So it changes the subconscious and it makes it easier for them. One other thing I want to point out about the smoking and therapy in general, sometimes they use something called aversion therapy. And this is fun. This just happened pretty recently. And aversion therapy is the therapy where if a person is either eating something or smoking, I would say, what's something you'd never put in your mouth?
Right. Right.
And you have them imagine and equate the two things together, whether it's smoking or if they're eating a bunch of chips or stuff, whatever it is they're eating that they need to stop, you have them make a connection between the aversion and that. And sometimes that certain people, that works like a charm. Recently, I helped the guy stop smoking. And I had never heard him say this before, but I said, what is something you never put in your mouth? And he said, I would never put an exhaust pipe on my mouth. So when I followed up with him, a week after the session, I go, how you doing? Because I'm doing great, man. I wouldn't put an exhaust pipe in my mouth. So,
What about for people on drugs? Have you helped people
yes,
with hypnotism?
yes, I have. I have people with addiction issues. Yes, I have over the years. And it's the same ballpark, You can go back to why they're doing it. What's the reason for it? And once we can connect that and do that, and you could use some aversion therapy in there as well. But once you have them realize that they don't need to do it, part of their brain needs to do it. And there's a dopamine release on some of these things too. And sometimes you can change that dopamine release to something more positive. And sometimes a lot of these issues are caused by some emotional patterns or issues that happened when children were younger. And this is what it goes back to. And this is, again, why I love the work, because once you start disconnecting those negative experiences, everything changes. Everything changes. And once that happens, the person feels better, feels differently, and they'll feel like they're in more control. And again, that's what I freaking love about this stuff. It's going inward, cleaning house, taking control of your life. Like I always say, look, because wait to hear this. The average person has 50,000 thoughts a day. Now get this, 90 to 95% of those thoughts are the exact same thoughts we had yesterday. Okay.
Right.
That's not me saying it. This is Discover Magazine and Telex Institute. That's where I got the information. Okay. So we're creatures of habit. So if you're happy with yourself, God bless you. Okay. But if there's something about the way you're thinking or doing something or behavior wise you'd like to change, I invite you to read my book, because you might be able to change it on your own just reading the book. You won't need, for the price of a book, you could change whatever you want to change about yourself. That's why I wrote the book. I wrote the book so people can feel confident, feel better about themselves, enjoy themselves. Look, you and I both know, man, life goes by quickly, okay? Because you and I are already getting up there in age, right? So you might as well enjoy yourself. Why can't you have fun every day? Why can't you enjoy yourself every day? Why can't you have fun and enjoy yourself? Why can't you feel great every day? You can. You absolutely, positively can. It's just a matter of taking control of what's between these ears. And once
But
you do that, you're in control and you can have whatever you want. You can
by
feel
the way,
whatever
since you
you want.
mentioned it, we've been talking about it, and we'll conclude talking about the book in a second. But how did it get copy of this book?
Well, you could go to my happyhypnotist.com. And if you go there, by the way, I have a new store open called the Positive Store. And right now, wait to hear this, limited time, I have a free download for you on my Positive Store right now. I just set it up. So on my store, I have self-hypnosis audios, okay? And there's also an audio of the book. But one of the self-hypnosis audios is getting a great night's sleep. And we all need to sleep well. In this audio, you listen to it before you go to bed. And I put my hypnosis voice on, and I very carefully guide you into a very safe, deep night's sleep. And I'm telling you, you listen to this and you're like, oh no, you just fall asleep. And it's free. It's free. So if you go there, you can download it for free. And while you're there, you could also buy the book. I have an Amazon link. It's on Amazon. If you want to buy the hardcover or the paperback or, just the ebook, that's an Amazon thing right now. But if you want the audio file, that's on my website. You could have that as well.
Very nice offer. And so just going back to two other things you mentioned. So I want to talk about, I got it, comedy business. You also did the getting to hypnotism. Talk about one other thing you mentioned, and that's the live shows. And I've had the pleasure of seeing you, I think, twice in a live show. How do you spin off, I guess, from being individual hypnotism to being, I don't know, a happening
Here's what happened.
hypnotist?
I literally, when I was doing hypnosis work, and then I guess it was like a couple of years into it, I literally got a phone call from somebody that was looking for a stage hypnotist. And they wanted to know if I did it. At the time, I had never done one. So I studied how to do it. I studied with Jerry Valley, one of the best in the world at teaching stage hypnosis. And I studied with him. And then I started doing them. And I had a lot of fun. I did them for corporations. I did all kinds of various things. Now, the last 5-6 years, I've been so busy with everything else that, I have 3 grandchildren now. So I have a lot, and I'm still own the comedy cabaret business. So I'm still connected to that. And I see hypnosis clients. So my schedule's pretty jammed. So I haven't done it, but I am going to be breaking one out this year. This year, I'm definitely going to be doing it again. I'm thinking March or April. I'm going to crank one up again.
Because again, I've actually seen at least once with you with others as well, but it's just a lot of fun to see. And if
It's
you've
the
never
same
seen
principle.
one,
It's the same principle, Blaine. When I do the show, I simply ask the audience, who would like to volunteer and come up and experience hypnosis? And one of the things I do in my show, and I tell the audience that, I go, one of the things I do during the show, I will be giving suggestions of confidence during the whole show. And so when people come up, they're willing to accept suggestions of being entertaining. They're at a comedy club usually, and the suggestions are going to be entertaining. Okay, so they're willing to accept it. Does everyone get involved? No. That's why I start with about 20 people and usually end up with probably about 8 people or so that stay up and stay into it. And that's okay. It's okay. Everyone has their own level of suggestibility, and that's okay as well. I've had people say, I could never be hypnotized. That's right. If you don't want to be,
right?
You won't be. Okay, you just won't be. But if you'd like to be, it's just a matter of listening and being open and accepting suggestions. Here's what I want to point out, because this really will help people, I think, understand it better. It's like if you meditate, most people have meditated. In meditation, what are you doing? You're just breathing. Like just right now, let's do just a simple meditation where you breathe in for like 4 or 5 seconds, and then breathe out for 4 seconds. Breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose. Breathe out for 4 seconds through your nose. Okay, so when you start getting into that rhythm and you're just focusing on air going in and out through your nose, that is known as the meditative state or the alpha state, okay? Now, when you're in that state, that's meditative. Hypnosis is using that same state. And then once you get to that state, you start giving yourself suggestions. And once you start doing that, the subconscious is more open to suggestions. Now, especially if it's something you want to change for yourself, okay, you're going to be more open to doing it. A focused mental state, people go, here's a typical focused mental state. You're driving your car. This has happened to all of us. You're driving your car, and all of a sudden, oh, I wanted to turn there and I missed my turn. What happened? You were simply focused on something else. That's the focused mental state we all experience. That's the hypnotic state. Well, if a car came straight at you, you would have swerved. Okay. So that's a focused mental state. Like sometimes if I'm at my computer and I'm working on a project, my wife will call my name and I don't hear it because I'm so into what I'm doing, you know, focused mental state. It's the same exact thing. Okay. But in hypnosis, you use that focused mental state to help yourself relax, help yourself feel more confident, or whatever it is you want to change or enhance about yourself.
You use it for yourself?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I use it all the time. I
And
use it practically every day. You know what I like to use it for?
what?
I use it for, I try to take a break every day because I'm up early. You know, I usually get up 7 a.m., sometimes earlier. I used to be able to sleep in. I don't know. I can't do it anymore. I used to. I'm up early. And then, you know, during the day, I'd like to try to take like a 20-minute break. And I have a little self hypnosis session of just all I try to do is just relax then because I'm seeing clients or I'm at my computer working, I'm doing comedy production work, whatever it is. So I'm constantly busy. And so I want to take that time to chill. And ladies and gentlemen, it's one of the most important things you can do for yourself because it kind of reboots your whole system. So I always recommend taking a break during the day. If you could just breathe for just 5 minutes, like we were doing a moment ago, that would also help. Just focus on your breath for 5 minutes, kind of reboots your mind. So I really enjoy that. And I do it myself practically every single day. And my wife and I have a routine. My wife, Marilyn, who, by the way, says, say hi to Blaine for me. I said, okay. She's an awesome woman. Really, she really is. We have a routine at night where we actually listen. It sounds pretty self-serving, but we would listen to a hypnosis thing to go to sleep to because we like it. And of course, we listen to mine. Like I said, it's free on my website, and you'll see how good it is, man. You'll be able to put yourself in a nice, deep level of sleep, and boom, it's gonna feel great. It really is.
And listen to you, Andy, I'm thinking out loud. That's a shame more people don't try it in that I'm even thinking about so many other people hypnosis could help or self-hypnosis. I'm
Yeah.
thinking of actors, for example. Have you worked? I'm just curious. Can self-hypnosis be used to help you memorize lines?
It can be used for anything. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it
But
could
but
absolutely be
I'm
used to
thinking
help you
what
memorize lines.
actors could use this, lawyers
Yeah.
could use this, you know.
Yep.
So many people could use this if they're open to the experience. If they're
Yes.
not
It's
open,
it's that simple. Just be open to it. And like I try to teach everybody, it's just going inward. It's just going inward. More people, when they get that message, are going to be willing to say, okay, I want to go inward. And once they do it, once you see how easy it is, that's the best. That's best of all, man. It's easy to do. And it's just, it can be life changing. And it's free. It doesn't really cost anything. You know, once you learn how to do it, you have it for the rest of your life.
if folks want to reach the happy hypnotist, what's the best bet?
Happyhypnotist.com. There you go.
Okay.
Happyhypnotist.com.
Okay. And I thank you for the offer to get the tape alone. I'm going to listen to it, getting to sleep. What a great offer.
Thank you. Thank you
Book
very
is
much. And
that,
somebody's going to win a free book, I think, right?
yeah, well, that'll be on the Blaine's World blog, but thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
We'll
Blaine's World
have that
blog, man. That's
down the
awesome.
road. Andy, as
That's
always, a
awesome.
pleasure. I'd like to thank you
Thank
for
you.
being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World
Blaine,
webcast.
listen, I want to thank you for all you do. And your Blaine's World thing is phenomenal. I've been getting that for years. The information, you have reviews of movies, you have what's happening nationwide. It's awesome. It really is a great read and so informative and helpful to a lot of people. And so I really appreciate your work and what you've been doing all these years, helping lots of people on your end. So thank you, Mr. Greenfield.
It's mutual, my friend, and also like thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti. And hopefully we'll see you next time I'm in Bucks County, or even
I hope
better,
so. Please,
get your
please
body
do.
out to Asheville.
Okay,
Okay,
I
buddy.
will.
Good,
one of
good.
these days when I'm on my book tour.
Okay. See you soon.
Thanks again, Blaine. Bye bye.